Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. This is Cassie Stumo. I am the marketing specialist here at EAC. We'll begin today's session with an introduction of EAC, and then Paul Dye, PTC's technical account specialist, will be diving into how you can easily deliver rich industrial strength AR use cases with Vuforia Studio. Everyone will get a recording of the session, pending any technical difficulties. So please feel free to drop questions in the chat and we'll answer them after the presentation. Okay, so for those of you who do not know who we are, I'll start off with a quick intro. Our mission is to transform the way companies design, manufacture, connect to, and service their products. We are not only a value-added reseller for PTC, but we are the #1 solutions provider for PTC in the country, something EAC is very proud of. We have experts in 22 areas of product development, and we're located all over the U.S. with our headquarters in Burnsville, Minnesota. We offer our customers everything they need for product development, such as service lifecycle management software, which helps you create and manage service documentation, product data management software like Windchill, ThingWorx, Navigate, and our customizable EAC productivity apps, which helps you with management of internal product data. We implement the Internet of Things and augmented reality into business strategies to jumpstart initiatives around digital transformation and connecting all things in your company. We assist with design and engineering projects like FEA, simulation, reverse engineering, and proof of concepts for our customers. And we offer webinars and PTC certified training courses for continuous learning. We are also a commercial reseller for Formlabs, offering their latest products in additive manufacturing. The Form 3 is now available with packages starting at $34.99. Any previous owners of the Form 2 prior to the Form 3 release date of April 2nd of this year can receive $500 of their order of the Form 3 until June 30th of 2019. The Form 2 is now sold at a discounted price of $28.50. So please keep us in mind. We have a variety of tools that help your organization save time and money throughout the product development process. Thank you for taking the time to listen to who we are. I will hand things over to Paul so he can get started.
Hello, my name is Paul Dye. I'm with the Virtual Center of Excellence based out of Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and today I'm going to talk to you a bit about Vuforia Studio. So, Vuforia Studio is our powerful tool for authoring and publishing augmented reality experiences in a quick and efficient manner. So this is going to be your tool for your content creators to actually build these experiences. So to get you a little bit better of an understanding of what that might look like, I'm going to give you a view of the front end of one of these experiences. So now I'm going to mirror my tablet screen up onto the monitor. All right. So what you're seeing now is my tablet screen, and we're going to be looking for the Vuforia View app. So this is our universal viewer app that you can actually bring up and view these experiences that you've created in Vuforia Studio. So we'll go ahead and open up this app. We have a few built-in experiences, but for today we're going to have one that we have prepared here. We can just scan this in using a QR code. All right. So we're brought up with a menu, and this is our milling machine augmented reality experience tab. So we're going to be looking into a service application. So what we're met with is a scanner, and it's telling us we have a spatial target that we need to scan in. And this is looking for any horizontal surface, such as a table or the ground, that we can actually bring our augmented reality experience to life. So we'll bring this down and just kind of get a scan of our area. And as it's doing this, it's actually looking at all of the objects in our environment, and it's seeing that and bringing that to life. So we can simply just tap to place this augmented reality experience, and here we have it. We have a few different options. We can scale it, move it around with just a touch of a finger. We can rotate to see different parts that we want to look at. And so as we're looking at this, we see the first thing is a big gauge reading, and it looks like we have a temperature reading. So we're getting this information from, this temperature reading, is from ThingWorx. And what ThingWorx is it's bringing in real-time information into our application and letting us see the actual temperature readings or any kind of readings that we're getting from our equipment. So it looks like this is not within the bounds of what we want, so we'll go ahead and click up here, and we see that the motor is actually overheating. And it gives us 3 different possible modes of failure and a couple different ways that we can go about maybe fixing that. So we'll hit continue to actually enter into our service experience. By going ahead and pressing play, we can actually start to see 2 different main things. So the first that we have is a list of instructions written out at the top, telling us to disconnect the mill from power. And we also have a model down here where it's showing us exactly where we're going to go about doing that. So as we click play, it's going to show us a few different instructions, telling us to locate the cap. So we can actually move this experience around to get a better view of this. Go ahead and zoom in. And as we're going through, it's giving us a nice look and animation of what we're actually doing to go ahead and service this part. So we can see real time on the actual piece of equipment or the experience that we have up, what we would be doing with the parts that we're installing onto this piece of equipment. So we're going ahead and pressing play through this experience, and now we have seen firsthand exactly how we would go about switching out one of the parts to this. So we also have a few other features with this. If we missed a step in here, we could go down to the bottom left and click rewind and go back and see another step to see exactly how it should be done. And we also have the option to freeze the camera. So right now I'm currently moving the camera around, but it is frozen on the display until we're on another angle that we could bring in and actually see a new view of our experience. So now, after the operation is complete, we see now a new temperature reading that we've brought in from our real-time sensors, and it's telling us that we can go back and confirm this and say whatever the technician's name that actually went in and did this servicing procedure. So that'll be all looking at that for now. I think later we'll go in and add in an IoT gauge and maybe an animation sequence to this later on in the demonstration. So for now, we'll go back to our slide deck, and we'll take a look into some of the challenges that PTC sees in the world of augmented reality today and companies trying to get into it. So in the industry, we see a lot of people having issues actually with the creation of these augmented reality applications. So you might be able to create one, but then it's hard to scale this application to other uses, and you actually use more applications for other uses. So it becomes difficult because you need somebody to actually create all these different experiences. So you might need someone with software experience to actually create all of these different experiences. And so once you start to scale up and create more applications, it becomes costly because you might need to have one person or maybe a team of people to develop, implement, and even maintain because of the variety of use cases and the roles that all of these applications can have an effect on. So we see a lot of these applications and use cases throughout the industry. And so we'll take a look into maybe how we see it in operations and manufacturing, especially service, even in the ability to market and sell in the industry. So for right now, we'll go and look into the operations and manufacturing side of things and some of the challenges that we see in this use case. So the first thing that we see in manufacturing is some of the slow assembly and maintenance. And this can be due to inefficient instructions. So you might have people working on the line that are working with these large manuals, and they're not able to get in and see exactly the information they want. So they have to go and reference other people and get this information. And it's going to be tough because a lot of the things that we see in the workforce today is we have a lot of these baby boomers that were working in the maintenance industry for a number of years, and they're starting to move out of this field. And we're bringing in new workers that might not have the experience that you need. So there's going to be a large cost for training these new workers to actually work on this equipment. On top of this, you're going to have a safety risk with having these new workers because they are not going to be as experienced as you might want, and they're actually going to have to be working on this equipment, and it's going to be another cost that you have to think about. We also see operational efficiency challenges. So along with these higher costs and mistakes from these new workers, you're also going to see an uptick in the amount of reworks and an increase in the downtime due to this lack of experience. Overall, this is going to be an increase to the production costs. And with this increase in downtime, you're going to see a decrease in uptime. So this is, of course, not going to be good for production. It leads to an inflexibility on your plant, and in turn, a slow response to customer needs. And so, of course, with these customer needs, we feel this pressure to work in a zero-defect world. So you're going to end up leading to a lower yield rate, and you're going to have delays in actually getting your items or your product out to your customers. So with these challenges around the cost of training, you actually want to get these new hires up to speed as soon as possible to kind of counteract some of these costs. So looking at these challenges in the manufacturing area, it segues well into what we see in the service industry. So we have this need to drive workforce productivity and, of course, the safety of the workers that are actually doing these services. So you have intense service procedures, and these can be very costly, simply due to the complex nature of the directions, or as we talked about earlier, we have this lack of experience because we have new people coming in to take over for the role of the people that are leaving the industry. This can lead to slow resolution time, and further we see higher costs of actual maintenance and a loss of production because you have a higher downtime. So due to this downtime, you're going to have a poor service quality, and of course this leads to low customer satisfaction. So overall, the cost it takes to train someone added to the length of training is going to be very high in both markets. Now we also see a few challenges in the area of marketing and sales. So first of all, whenever you're actually trying to transport maybe a demo product to a site, it's going to be very costly. So if you're going to send something big or heavy, such as a bobcat or a car, the cost associated with actually getting these demo products is going to be very high if you're trying to get these to a site. And again, you're going to have high costs with actually maybe once you're making the sales to transport these products to the customer sites or even trade shows for sampling. Another area where we see high costs is with the sales process. So if you're not able to actually market and sell your product, well, you're going to have long sales cycles overall. And so the longer this goes on, the more money that you're going to have to sink into it. And finally, your marketing material might simply not be engaging. So something you've created could be quickly outdated. You might not have an effective long-term solution to actually counteract this, and you're going to have no competitive differentiation. So the area that we look to see as a solution to this is through Vuforia's suite of tools. So the first component that we're actually looking at in this is Vuforia Studio. So this is for your solution builders to author and publish augmented reality experiences for the enterprise. So this is where we're going to be able to use drag and drop functionality to not only reuse 3D models that you may have already had or created, but also 2D marketing materials. And next we're going to look at Vuforia Studio. So this is our other component that we actually got to see a little bit earlier when we were seeing the milling machine. So this you can download for free, it's free to use, and you're taking the augmented reality experiences that you've created in Vuforia Studio, and you're actually going to be able to look at them, and you can recognize different objects in a number of different ways. And the main way that we do it is through the use of thing marks. And this is our PTC branded QR code that we can pull up and view rich augmented reality experiences. So now, once you have these experiences that you've created in Studio, you're going to be publishing them to the experience service. So this is a cloud-based solution that seamlessly connects experiences to the real-time product information that defines them. And this real-time product information is what we've gathered through ThingWorks. And ThingWorks, again, is our ability and our platform for taking real-time product information and bringing it into different applications, such as our augmented reality experiences. So looking at this, we see a number of capabilities with Vuforia Studio. The first of which is the ability to fast author augmented reality experiences. So you can accelerate the process of designing and publishing using this drag and drop functionality. And I may not have said, but you have no need for coding. You can simply drag and drop to create all of these experiences. Vuforia Studio is also optimized for 3D CAD models, so you're able to reuse models and animated sequences that you may have already designed or have on site. We have an industrial IoT, that is Internet of Things connection. So again, as I mentioned, you're able to easily incorporate this real-time sensor data and business system data. We have the ability to create CSS classes. So this is simply to fit your desired style and feel for the experiences that you create. And finally, we have flexible deployment options. So we have secure certified cloud hosting or simply on-premise solutions. Expounding on this, we have the ability to download experiences. So if you're sending a technician to an area with maybe no internet connection or weak internet connection, you can have this content pre-downloaded to actually view on site. We're able to easily share experiences, so we have universal links that give users the most integrated mobile experience that you could ask for. We have the ability for advanced tracking, so we can enhance user experiences with both model and spatial targets. So this is kind of what we looked at earlier with spatial targets. That's where we look for that horizontal surface to project our augmented reality experience onto. We also have model targeting. So this is when you have 3D geometry in real life that you're going to snap your augmented reality experience onto and view it in real time. We have that universal viewer app, Vuforia View. This gives universal access across the enterprise on either mobile devices or digital eyewear. And finally, it is free to download, so we are able to access this through the Google, Apple, or Windows app stores. So looking at some of these capabilities, I'd like to take more of a look into what this might look on the back end, so actually creating one of these experiences in Vuforia Studio. So let me pull up Vuforia Studio now, and we're going to look into creating one of these experiences. So creating a new project, we see that we have 3 project types that we can start into. The first of which is 2D eyewear. So this is what our RealWear and Vuzix eyewear is. So expanding on this is where you have a small screen in the corner of the glasses where you can view 2D information such as service instructions for your technical workers. We also have 3D eyewear. Now this is our Microsoft HoloLens, and this option allows you to view 3D models, and these 3D models actually have animations that go through a servicing process that you can view and work with. Finally, our last option is the mobile. So this is the same experience that we went through earlier with the milling machine, where we were able to bring that up using spatial targeting, and that's what we're going to work with today. So let's go ahead and select this mobile application. Bring it in, we'll give it a name having to do with our milling machine. Okay, so now we're greeted with the main screen for Vuforia Studio. So we have our canvas, and over here in our configuration, we have some options. We can edit our theme that we're working within. We're able to add in a thing mark. So this is the PTC branded QR code that is able to be the launch point for your applications. Today, we don't need one for this specific one, so we'll go ahead and select none. In our info editor, we're able to validate our experience. We can change this to be password protected. So if we don't want someone to view this experience, we can have this be password protected and have that further layer of authentication. Or we can simply have it be public, so anybody can view it, maybe after the experience is created. We have a few more options. Again, we have that ability to download for offline viewing in bad connection areas. A few more areas for customization. And finally, we have the landing zone for our thing marks. And this is simply where you're going to pull up the thing marks that you've created, and you can actually retrieve them for the experiences that you create. So now that we've had a quick look into Vuforia Studio, we're going to take a quick segment over and look at another app that we actually use for creating these augmented reality experiences. And this is called Creo Illustrate. So this is our tool to animate and make sequences for Vuforia Studio experiences. So through this Creo Illustrate, you're able to take your model, bring it to life through animations and effects. But again, this is not necessary for Vuforia Studio. This is just something that we use to add value to our augmented reality experience. So once we have our model up in here, we are going to look at the parts that we have associated with our assembly, and we're going to go ahead and make an animation. So we'll start into our sequence, and we want the user to see that we want this cord unplugged. So we'll go ahead and add a flash animation to this cord to let the user know that we want this unplugged as our first step. If you think back to earlier when we were working with this animation, we wanted the user to go ahead and remove this cap from the motor housing. So we'll have this flash again just to cue off the user that we're going to be removing this. So in order to actually remove this, we're going to have this screwdriver come in and show the user that we're going to be turning counterclockwise to remove this cap from the motor housing. So we'll add in a fade-in effect, simply just to have the screwdriver appear and make it look somewhat normal for the user. Here we're simply turning the screwdriver counterclockwise to show the direction of how you would remove that cap. So you have a lot of different options for effects in terms of how you want to go ahead and show these animations. Go ahead and fade out that screwdriver, and now we can see maybe a preview of what this might look like. So we see that cord is going to be flashing, telling the user to remove from power, and then we have the screwdriver coming in, showing the direction of how we'll be turning that screwdriver to get that cap removed from the motor housing. Okay, awesome. So this was just a brief kind of example just to show some of the capabilities that you can do with these animations. You could go more in depth if you would like, but for now we're going to go ahead and publish this experience. So here we're going to publish as a PVZ file. This is a product view file. What it does is it wraps up the CAD and the animation, and it makes it about 5 to 10% of its original size, and simply just puts it into a format that the studio can read and we're able to use. We'll go ahead and save that, and let's switch back over and look at Vuforia Studio again. So now we'll bring in a spatial target. This is the target that we saw earlier where you're looking for a horizontal surface. We also have a few other options for targets. We have image targeting, where you'd have something like a magazine or brochure where you can bring up and have the launch point for your augmented reality experience to be these images. Model targeting, as I touched on earlier, is you have this 3D life geometry that you're going to be able to snap onto with your augmented reality experiences and view them in real time. And finally, we have our thing mark, which is the PTC branded QR code to bring up these experiences. So now I'll go ahead and bring over a model widget. And I should mention that the widgets are simply an encompassing term for anything we drag over from the left side. So these are pre-made within Studio, and we just simply drag them onto the canvas. We can't necessarily change what they do at their base, but we simply tell them the resources and properties and how they're going to actually act and how we want them to use. So we're going to go ahead and point a resource towards this. And we're going to use that animation that we created earlier in Creo Illustrate. And here we have the option to run a CAD optimizer. So this gives us a low, medium, and high version of this PVZ file. And so this is built into Studio, and this is just making it easier on the end user to pull up and use. So now we can change maybe the location of this. We can change the visibility. All right, awesome. So now that we have this in here, we're going to take a look at the 2D side of things. And again, we have some pre-built widgets that we're going to be able to just simply drag and drop and create the experience that we want. So what we're going to do is start to build in on what we saw earlier, where we have these play and rewind buttons that we were able to interact with and use for our experience. So we want to go ahead and use our drag and drop functionality to start actually creating this. We have a lot of options for customization, just to simply make things look exactly how we might like, make them look nice. This is some of the styling and editing that we talked about earlier. So now we are actually going to go ahead and try to build these play and rewind buttons. So we're going to drag in these toggle buttons, and we're going to pull an image that we actually want these to be referenced to. We have one of these saved on file, or we have some built into Studio itself. So now we can make this look exactly how we might like. We don't like the gray, so we'll turn it into a nice green color just to give us that nice button appeal. So now looking at this, we have events. So this is actually where we're going to tell the buttons what we want it to do. So this is very intuitive, exactly how we have designed. So we want to tell our button whenever I click, we'll drag it to the model. And Vuforia Studio is smart, and it already knows exactly some of the options that what we want it to do. So of course, when we click, we want it to rewind. Simple as that. We're going to go ahead and mirror some of these same applications over for the play button that we set up. We'll go ahead and give it that same nice green color that we made for the rewind button. And again, very intuitive. Whenever I click over to the model, it's going to play. And so I could select any other, maybe a fast forward or simply play all whenever I press the play, but we wanted to go through on every step. All right, awesome. So now back in the 3D space, we're going to add in an IoT gauge. So this is what we looked at the experience earlier. There was that real-time data for the temperature that we were pulling in. So we want to have this be built into our experience again. So now we're simply able to click and drag and bring this to where we might want that sensor data to be displayed. So now what we want to do is go back and find that ThingWorx data. And again, ThingWorx is where we're actually pulling in this real-time sensor data, such as the temperature that we want to find here. And we can just pull this into one of our applications and get this actual sensor data onto our augmented reality experiences. This is really adding value for some of these animations or simply sequences that we're going to be seeing. Go ahead, click and drag this temperature onto our gauge reading. And now that we have this temperature data up, we can go ahead and preview this. So in only a few minutes, we were able to create a target, we brought in the model, laid out a button grid, and created a gauge with real-time data from ThingWorx and all this information simply within a couple minutes. So now we can actually start to preview this. We can select what device we're optimizing the experience for also. So we could have it either be with an iPhone, or if we wanted to have this information come up on an iPad, we can go ahead and select that. And so now we'll go ahead and click on our 2D information, where we click play, shows that flashing, and goes ahead and brings in this screwdriver, so we can actually see that going through, and we can see this real-time IoT data that's being brought in on the temperature data itself. So this is all being integrated within this same experience. Awesome. So now that was just a preview of what we might see with one of these experiences, and we could be finished and simply just publish this. Or we could take it a step further and bring in another layer of detail and actually have written instructions to go along with this. So now we're going to go over to this home.js. So this is where our steps are stored for whenever we're actually going through the servicing procedure. So these are stored in instructions. So all I have to do is take this instructions and be able to reference this in our canvas. Add a parameter for our instructions where we have these steps stored. So if we want to display these, we have to go back into our 2D side of thing and put in a label up at the top, such as what we saw earlier in the demonstration. So now that we have these instructions pulled in that we can reference, we're simply going to give a label that we can click and drag in these instructions to change whenever we want to pull them in for whatever step that we happen to be working for at the time. So again, this is going to work well, and we can go ahead and take it a step further. If we wanted to change the color of the background, we could do this, give it a nice gray background. Again, not very necessary, but just simply another added touch that we're able to utilize. So we'll go ahead and click preview on this experience here. And we can see these updates that we've just added in on the 2D side of things. So now we see up at the top, we actually have this information brought in. So we see it's telling us to disconnect the mill from power, and this feeds in perfectly with the animation that we've set up. It's going to go ahead and flash and show us again the procedure for servicing this. So here we walk through exactly what the Studio interface looks like using 3D existing CAD data. We pulled it into Studio, and the Studio already knew what we wanted to make it with that play and rewind button. We were to make a quick experience to display some of the features of Vuforia Studio. Awesome. So what is some of the value that we actually see from one of these experiences that we've created? Well, here at PTC, we see a lot of value in what we've just gone over here. So using the drag and drop functionality, we're able to rapidly create content in an intuitive visual authoring environment. We're also able to reuse that existing 3D CAD data, as we saw with the Creo Illustrate, in a simple and efficient way in creating this augmented reality experience. And we also have the ability to incorporate step-by-step animations with these experiences. We're able to deliver these experiences universally throughout the enterprise with that free-to-download, free-to-use Vuforia View app, along with HoloLens support. And finally, not only do we not have we have this flexible cloud or on-premise deployment options, but we also have the ability with ThingWorx to take in real-time data and analysis and actually integrate it into these augmented reality experiences. Okay, and that's going to be all for what we're looking at.